Recording just like that. Hey, everybody on YouTube, thanks for being here. Happy Thanksgiving to you if you're in the United States, and if you're around the world, happy Thanksgiving to you.
Normal Monday.
If you want to celebrate with us, feel free. It's a great holiday. Chris, we got we're gonna bang out two Q&As today on YouTube, on audio. Then we're gonna do Patreon episodes because we're not going to record next week over the holiday. Are you ready for this madness?
That's that's what holidays mean. It means work your butt off right before it's time to take a break, and then you just walk into the holidays exhausted and overwhelmed. I don't know any other way to do it. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, well, um,
I think we
here
only
we
have
go.
one person to hear from at this point. Little J. Little
I'm
J.
trying to think what Jimmy wants to eat for
Oh, it yeah,
lunch today.
yeah.
Jimmy, yeah. Would you like some turkey, some stuffing, some cranberry sauce, some marshmallow, sweet potatoes, some stuffing for lunch today? No thanks. We're going to have that on Thursday. But for now, I'd like to listen to the Paint Search podcast in peace, please. I'm not very hungry. Okay, Jimmy. Thank you for letting me know. Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. The great Chris Schaefer. Chris, how's it going
Mm,
today? Late
yes,
November here. Getting ready for Thanksgiving?
Jason. One thing up front. We just planned the entire day. We're so planned, and I'm going to throw something at you real quick. Name one thing you're thankful for on Thanksgiving, and it can't be corny. It can't be like my job or my
I'm
girlfriend.
thankful for my brain and my personality type and my intelligence and my work ethic and all the material things it's gotten me in this world of capitalism and competition and winner take all. And it's good to be a winner. That's what I'm thankful for.
Wow,
Pass the gravy.
that, you're th- I love it. That is that's a good answer. That's very honest. I know you well enough to know that is a very honest answer. Yeah, that's good.
What
Well,
about
I'm
you?
oh, Jason, I'm thankful for my family and my health. That's
No,
all.
those are, you know what? Those are the most important things. You take away the
Mhm.
money, you take away the material things. It's really about
Mhm.
family and health. That's what it's about.
Yep.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I win. I win the humility contest this time because that's what it's about. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us on this very
Yeah,
special
tell
week
the
here
people
in
what we're
America.
doing here, Chris. Let's just be honest
Yeah,
about it. We're going our
we're
separate ways next week.
yep, yeah. We are about to do I believe in the sports world, they call it a double header, where we are going to record episode after episode, and this is a double header of Q and A. We have let these questions build up over the past many weeks, and we have a lot of them, and we're going to answer them. And we have some really good questions, some very creative responses from people and stuff. We're going to get into all that, and you got a show on Thanksgiving week, and you're going to have another delightful question and answer show the next week, first week of December. So look forward to that. And again, if you want to send questions in, Paid Search Podcast, click the contact button. Paidsearchpodcast.com, click the contact button, and you can send your question in it, and we'll get to you next time. So before we jump into the wonderful Q&A session, we're going to talk about optio.com/PSP. You hear me talk about it. I talk about it all the time. They're a faithful sponsor of the show for a long time. We really appreciate their support. And if you are a user of their software, you really appreciate them covering your butt because that's what they do. They help you get your campaign performing in ways you can't consider on your own. We all have human brains. They have incredibly smart software. They have an email alert system. They have an active performance metric, calculus, complicated wow type of thing that goes on. And essentially, they help you get stuff done faster. They help you see things in the account that you wouldn't see otherwise. And if you want an extended free trial, this is a 6-week trial. For all those guys out there that don't listen to the show, they get 4 weeks. You get a 6-week extended trial for free. Go to opteo.com/PSP. opteo.com/PSP. Tell them, hey, I'm a listener of the show. Can I get a special 6-week trial? They'll say, hey, absolutely. And they sign you up and you get to try it out. You'll like it. We love it. Thank them for their sponsorship of our show.
Thanks, Chris. And I want to thank Kyle Solarud's AdLeg software suite for also sponsoring today's episode. Kyle Solarud made an awesome group of software tools called the AdLeg software suite. It's for Google Ads managers, and it's tons of different tools to help you speed up your work, be better at Google Ads, and be more efficient. It's awesome for listeners of the Paid Search Podcast. Not only do we talk about the human knowledge side of things and try to get better and better at Google Ads, as Chris was saying, but when you combine it with these tools and these softwares, you can just really get great results and really manage campaigns efficiently. A couple awesome tools in the software suite, the AdLeg software suite, Native Keywords Pro. We've all been there. You start a campaign, you get a bunch of bad search terms, you're adding negative keywords and trying to catch up as you start running. But a better way to do it is add tons and tons of negative keywords before you even start the campaign, hundreds of negative keywords. Well, how do you find those? Native Keyword Pro. You just enter in your keyword and you'll get hundreds of negative keyword ideas based on actual user searches. You can copy and paste those into your campaign as negative keywords. And then I also want to tell you about the Vid Hoarder. The Vid Hoarder tool is amazing. If you're running, to me, the best part of YouTube advertising is direct placements, knowing exactly what videos you're going to show up on. The problem with that is finding those hundreds or thousands of videos that you want to show up on that are super relevant, or even just a handful that are like amazingly relevant. How do you find them? Well, that's what the Vid Hoarder does. You type in your keywords, your topics, and then it'll show you a list of super relevant YouTube videos. You copy and paste the URLs, you paste them in as direct placements, and then you can target them directly. Kyle Solarud is offering a free 7-day trial for listeners of the Paid Search Podcast. Get the AdLeg software suite, Kyle Solarud's AdLeg software suite at software.adleg.com/PSP. And we'll have links to both Opteo and AdLeg in the show notes.
Okay, Jason, they have questions and we are full of answers, and let's get to it. All right, Amy leads the show today. Amy from South Carolina. She says, how do I organize my campaigns with all facets of my website and targeting where they're covered but not overlapping? I currently associate my campaigns with either membership or catalog. So she's talking about people that are looking for certain type of service, or people that are looking for a particular product. But they seem to get muddled when I split them out into search, display, remarketing, shopping, audiences, targeting, dynamic, blah, blah, all that stuff. So how can you help clarify her situation, help her to have less confusion and more organization in her campaign?
Yeah, Chris. So when I'm talking about structure, to me, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind with structure. You've got, first, you need to understand the Google Ads structure. You have your account, and then under that, you have your campaigns. Under that, you have your ad groups, and under that, you have keywords and ads. So when I'm thinking about campaigns, the way I'm differentiating campaigns, it's all based on a good-looking guy
Jason,
with a guitar. What's
I'm
going on here, Chris?
I'm going to let you finish, Jason. But Amy also sent in one little other thing that that I just love too much, and I have to add it to her question. She said we had asked for a 25-line review or a limerick. Jason, Amy provided a limerick, and I'd just like to perform that real quick for her, or
Wow.
for you guys, for you. There once was a podcast so fine with Jason and Chris, Jimmy who whines. They teach us neat tricks to get Google clicks. Paid search, my commerce lifeline.
Wow, Chris, I didn't know you had that skill. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. He's very pleased with himself. And this is definitely turning into a holiday episode where you're in the room, you're eating food with family and extended family, and then all of a sudden someone goes over to the piano or whips out a guitar. Chris, he's putting his headphones back on. I'm just telling everyone how this is officially a holiday episode now, that it's like when you're at eating the meal with the extended family and then someone whips out the guitar or someone walks over to the piano and starts to play and everyone circles
Yeah,
around. Next thing you know, a bunch of uncles and aunts from the 60s are singing Let It Be by the Beatles, and
yeah,
they're really singing it. So thank you for that. So Chris, talking about campaign structure. So Amy was talking about shopping and audiences and targeting and dynamic and all that kind of stuff and display. The way I always think about it is, and I want you to tell me if I'm wrong or right in this thinking. But I always think about, how do you know what campaigns you need? How do you know what ad groups you need? It's very simple to me, very simple. Campaigns are based on your budgets needs and your settings needs. So those are the two things you do different at the campaign. And if someone's out there and they're going to pick this apart with shared budgets, I'm not going to. Chris does this sometimes, and it kind of makes me angry. He tells people to stop listening to the show. But if you are going to pick this apart and tell me about shared budgets, just keep listening to the show. But maybe you can just hit play so we get the download, and then I don't want you to listen, because I'm not talking about shared budgets here. I'm keeping things simple. Chris, budgets and settings are what differentiate campaigns. So if you're doing a display campaign, yes, keep display in its own display campaign. If you're doing shopping, that's a setting. Keep that campaign in its own campaign. If you're targeting different locations, that can be different campaigns. If you're targeting different schedules, that can be different campaigns. I look at campaigns based on the budget needs and the settings. And then ad groups are dictated by keywords and ads, because that's all ad groups are. So what ad groups go inside of a campaign? It's keywords and it's ads. So if someone's searching for uh, nice dress shirts, that could be its own ad group. And if someone's searching for polo shirts, that could be the polo shirts ad group. You wouldn't want polo shirts and dress shirts in the same ad group, because they're different keywords and they're different ads and different landing pages for those two topics. So that's how I look at it, without getting into like a specific account, just keeping it general for everybody. Campaigns dictated by budget and setting needs and differences. Ad groups dictated by keywords and ad needs. And then also, Chris, you always got to think long term. Those two rules, you can be as complex as you want, but think long term, think about practicality, think about managing things over the long term, and kind of control your desire to make things complex. How does all that sound in terms of advice for structure? Does it get any
yeah.
better than that?
No, well, maybe a little bit better, because I have one little thing to add, but no, that's it. You're exactly right. When it
What
comes
do you have
down
to
to
add?
it, the only thing I have to add is this: when what Amy's talking about, and what's important is the initial structure of the campaign and the ad groups. There's a whole nother discussion we'd have to decide on for the optimization process. What is the problem most people have is when they're initially building the campaign and sorting out the ad groups. That's when you need to make clear decisions. But further down the line, 6 months down the line, perhaps you need to break a campaign out, because you need something different that sets aside not necessarily just budget and location. So you have to, what we're talking about here is initial setup and building. Okay. And the other thing I'll add to it is this: the thing that probably gets most people into trouble is they leave out one of the most common ad groups that most people need. It's the general catch-all
Bucket.
terminology that that could that could apply to anything, right?
Yeah.
There's a general term that if you wanted to, it could fit in every campaign, every ad group, but you need a separate ad group just for that. I usually call it my core or my main ad group, core term, something
Sometimes
like
we
that.
call it generic. It doesn't look
Yep.
good if a client's looking at that because generic, it's such a weak word. It sounds like, oh, what do you do? Just generic. But that's
Mhm.
the way we think about it. It's like generic
Yeah.
way someone would search. So we're building out a weight loss clinic today. We have a main generic ad group, weight loss clinics, weight loss centers, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you sort everything based on topic and category, everything Jason had talked about, and then have a generic all in your initial setup, you're going to find very easily ways to break all of that out and have it very segregated and organized, so that's very easy to review once it's going.
Yep. So, Chris, next question comes from Jamie from London, England.
Mm.
And little behind the scenes for you guys, Chris, for whatever reason, he just acts like he's on speed during the Q&A episodes, even though we're only doing 5 questions for this one. We can take our time, and he
Are you
highlights
talking
a
about
very little
editing?
part. Yeah, he highlights a very little part of the question where the exact question is. He doesn't give it any flavor. And I just can't look at someone saying, hi, guys, I watch your podcast all the time and think you're great. I just can't not read that. So I like hearing that from
Oh,
Jamie.
okay.
I have 2
Okay.
years experience with Google Ads and have tried and tested every bidding strategy. The best results I get are from manual CPC. Really? Wow. But Google continues to try to get me to switch to target CPA. I believe
Mm.
humans are better than machines. Uh, I can
Yeah.
read the rest of
This is
that. That is
no. Don't read the rest of it. Do not read the rest. There's a reason that's not marked.
I don't know if this guy is trying to say this with like legitimacy or if he's trying to like bait me. But if anybody doesn't want me to take the bait and attack them, it's Chris, because this would have me very mad at Chris right now. But anyway, do you think that someday soon we will be able to use smart bidding and the option for manual CPC will totally fade away? What do you think, Chris?
Hmm. Okay, so the answer to your question is this. Um, no, I personally do not think we will ever see smart bidding um, control the Google Ads system entirely without any ability to use manual bidding. I think that because there are bigger players in the system beyond just me and Jason, right? Believe it or not, Google probably doesn't even know who Chris and Jason are. There's big names out there, big corporations that would have a whole lot more to say about it. And I think those exist. And I think that for the huge high spending campaigns, they would need something beyond automated bidding because there are not always conversions that can determine. It's not always about clicks. Sometimes you just can't automate something until you test it. And the best way to test it is to use your intellect, your human aspect on the campaign and choose your bids. So, no, I don't think that we'll ever get to that. If I'm wrong, I think that there will still be a way around it, but it won't be obvious. I mean, like right now, most people don't realize that they can switch to a non-automated bidding system because it's buried under a couple different clicks. So we're kind of living in that world already, but I don't think it'll ever completely disappear. Jason?
Do you want my opinion?
No, Jamie does. I don't care about your opinion.
Well, thanks. Um, I mean,
Were you listening?
yeah,
Do
of
you
course I
even
was
remember?
listening. No, of course I was.
Okay.
I just don't know if you want to hear. I just don't know if I want to put out there what I'm about to say because it would really
Oh,
royally
well
screw
then
me.
don't.
But it's
Then
interesting.
don't say it
But it's
because
true. But
you'll
it's
just have to
true.
get it
It's
edited.
truly my opinion. No, I'm not going to edit
Okay.
it. I mean, he's asking if we think manual CPC would go away. Um, I'll put it this way: I just hope it doesn't. You know, I hope there's always a place for it because the system is so they're so big and there's so many options. It's just nice to have that control. So all I know is love manual still. I rely on it completely. And I think we have another question about when we use automated bids later on. So we'll
Hmm.
save the rest of it for that. But yeah, I hope it stays in. And like you're saying, Chris, in terms from a management perspective, there's always a need for it. So it should stay in. And but there's nothing wrong with knowing how to do both. So I think that's the
Yeah,
best approach.
that's a
Know
good
how to
point.
do both.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, don't. Yeah, we never advocate. Just to be clear, new listeners, we never advocate that people should only use manual bidding. We don't take a stance as absolutists on manual bidding. We just prefer it for certain situations, and there are plenty of campaigns that I personally have on maximize clicks, CPA, ROAS bidding. There's a lot of stuff that I use. So
ROAS.
just to be
Love saying that.
hey, yeah, I'm part of the lingo, man. I'm in the crowd. Okay. Next, we are going back across the pond
UK
to
heavy.
James from the UK. And since you like to hear the compliments, I'll read the first part of the question here. James from the UK says, "I started listening to your show at around the 140 episode mark. I chose you guys because of the nursing home build you did, and I thought an example build would be perfect for me to learn. I have since gone on to listen to your shows daily when I go to and from work. I'm hooked, and I've pretty much caught up now, and will start listening to the pre 140 shows, old school stuff. He's going to get into the first build we did eventually in about 70 more episodes. So that's cool. Glad that was useful. James's question is this: I work at a company that serves and services and restores classic cars. We work on Aston Martins, Jaguars, and other cars from the 60s and 70s, etc. I'm trying to run a campaign, and I was told by Google not to use names such as Aston Martin and other terms that are copyrighted, and that his ads would be blocked. He asks, "Is this correct?"
Mhm. Yes, Chris, thank you for the instructions after the question, highlighted in different color, answering my own questions. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that, Chris. So, Chris, we get this question quite a bit lately. When people were asking us a few weeks ago about competitor keywords,
Hmm.
but it all has to do with trademarks. So, I'm getting away from saying that we're going to link to articles in the show notes because I've listened back to episodes and stuff, and I think I'm about missing about 27 links over the last 30 episodes. I'm like, oh, we'll link to that in the show notes. So
You don't do it.
I'm just going to tell James to Google this for himself. But if you Google Ads help, and then specifically after that, help for trademark owners, there's an article, a help article about help for trademark owners. And then if you go down to the middle of the page, there's a section called authorize advertisers to use your trademark. So here's how I think about trademarks. You differentiate, just as Chris told me in the notes here, between the ad copy and the keyword. So on keywords, as far as I know, there's no or not many restrictions on targeting keywords that are trademarks. If someone has a trademark term, you can still target that as a keyword where your ad shows up on. Now, the question is, what can you put in your ad? And we talked about competitor bidding last week or a week ago or a few weeks ago, and we were like, don't put other people's trademark names in your ad because number one, that's just not good. And number two, you're not going to get approved anyway because it's someone else's trademark. And the rule is you can't use trademarks in the ads. You can target them as keywords, but you cannot use them as ad copy. Your ads will get disapproved. However, there are some situations where if someone does work on a particular car brand and they offer parts and services for that car brand, there's nothing wrong with saying that in the ad, like just a hypothetical. It's not like a competitor bidding or anything like that. So or another place I've run into this are where insurance agents, Chris, offer all kinds of insurance and they want to target a certain kind of insurance brand. And then they want to have that brand in the ad telling people in their area, hey, we sell this kind of insurance. And then their ads get disapproved because it's someone else's trademark. And so the workaround if you wanted to do it, if the trademark owner wants to do it with you, is you can go to that section of the help article that says help for trademark owners is the article. And then if you go to the section authorize advertisers to use your trademark, you can authorize advertisers to use your trademark by filling out the authorization form. So someone at that car company, Chris, could fill out that form and tell Google, hey, this Google Ads account is allowed to use our trademark in their ads, and we approve it. And then you can get approved if you work with the trademark owner. So that would be one way to do things if you're in touch with that company. If you're not, you can just target them as keywords, and then in your ad copy, you can use like generic stuff, just telling the search user what you do, trying really hard to get them to your website. And then on your website, you may have those brand names or pictures of those parts or
Mhm.
whatever. Chris, have you gone through that process, or are you familiar with that process where a trademark owner can authorize a specific Google Ads account to use their trademark in the ad copy? Have you seen that?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple things I've done it with big car companies. I've done it with smaller software companies. And I found two situations. One situation is where it's a very common brand that many people need to use, very national, worldwide brand. And Google will have the contact information of that copyright holder, and they
Oh,
will
nice.
put you in touch with them or request on your behalf. The other option is they won't have
Trademark.
that information. Right. Sorry. Yeah. The trademark, and then they can get it approved. What they basically need is your ID number. They just have
Mm.
to list your ID, your Google Ads ID number, as an exemption on that trademark, and you can run ads, no problem. The other instance is they won't have any idea. They won't be able to help you, and you'll have to dig through uh, emails and maybe call. You're going to have to find some random person within that company that knows what you're asking for, because it's a very specific thing, and then get them to approve it. And here's the thing: I've done that before, and what will happen is it's actually not managed by that company. As with most instances, their Google Ads and their trademark stuff is managed by an agency. So
Ah.
now you have to go contact that agency and get them, hey, can you get me approval on this? So sometimes it can be a really tedious, but the first step I would say is contact Google Help. See if they have a way to get you in touch with them. Maybe they have it on record, something like that, and then dig in from there.
But Chris, would you say it's good advice to say in the meantime, don't let this hold you back, and
Yeah.
run ads with j- copy that does not try to use the trademark, and just so if you're doing car repair, or car servicing or whatever, or parts, and someone's searching for a particular brand, you can't use the trademark in your ad until it gets approved. In the meantime, can't you run an ad that says on that brand name, when someone's searching for parts or service for that brand name, you can run an ad that says, we service all major foreign brand names. We service all major Italian car companies, brands, or something like
Mhm.
that. And that way you can kind of tell the search user, hey, we're not saying the name of that brand right now in the ad, but you can kind of get that we mean that, enough to where you're motivated to click the ad and either call in or go to the website. Would that be good
Yeah.
advice to at least try to start running with some
Oh
kind of
yeah.
ad with generic copy
Oh, definitely. I mean,
and not let it
I've
be
done
a
the same kind of
showstopper?
thing. One thing that makes a big difference for me is WordPress. I have clients who have applications and premium plugins that use WordPress, and they need to use WordPress in their ad copy. And instead, what I
Oh,
do is
okay.
I just say WP. Right? I can't
Wow.
use the word WordPress, and they're not interested in allowing it. So I will have two sets of ads. I'll have ads that have WordPress in it, and there is not 100% exclusion on the WordPress term. So sometimes I will show the WordPress ad, and then on other ones I just have WP, right?
You know what else
Which
is weird? I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but I know like with medical content, sometimes you get that approved limited status medical
hmm
content, and it's like, okay, what does that mean? I'm still getting impressions and clicks, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I don't know if you can get that with a trademark or not, but I kind of feel like
you
I'm
can.
remembering I am. I did.
Yeah, you can get limited. There's two different levels of it. There's eligible, limited, and then basically just disapproved, flat out. You're
Disapproved.
not going
Okay.
to get anything. So
So,
limited is okay. It's kind of like a yellow light. Some you don't know where your limitation is, but you
uh,
won't get 100% coverage on that term. but in some instances you can show it. So limited doesn't mean stop; it just means accelerate
Chris,
really
all these
fast.
questions, I was going through the questions that you so nicely laid out, prepared for us today, and I'm getting Google Ads Manager PTSD because I'm going through all these situations. Like we're going to talk about one later
Hmm.
on about like claims on the website and all that kind of stuff, and then this is about disapprove for trademark, and it's like I'm remembering all those accounts where I had to deal with
Yeah,
this for weeks and weeks, and it's no wonder we're getting questions like this because this is the tough stuff that you got to deal with sometimes.
yeah, yeah. There's not usually a solid answer out there. Everybody believes that they have a unique situation, but in reality, most of it is not particularly unique. It's just the same kind of situation, just different batch.
Yep.
Okay, Jason, I think you've got the
Oh,
next one.
sorry. I was looking at the next one. Yeah. So this question comes from Tiffany from the United Kingdom. And she says, "Hi, both. Your podcasts have really helped me as I am fairly new to digital marketing. The thing I am struggling on the moment because of the thing I am struggling with on the at the moment because of lack of resources in Google Ads or Tiffany, a lot of people are mad at me right now thinking I can't read a question, but I'm going to takes two to tango,
Tiffany
Tiffany
wrote it.
here.
It's
Okay.
written perfectly. It's entirely Jason. I'm looking at it right
So
here,
I'm
and it's
gonna I'm gonna
perfect.
scan this and then read it in my own words. But I still will start with hi both because I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Hi both. Your podcasts have really helped me as I am fairly new to digital marketing. The thing that I'm struggling with at the moment is the lack of resources with display ads. Do you do any display ads? If so, what is the best way to optimize them? Thanks, Tiff. Tiffany, thank you for the question, all the way from across the pond in the UK.
Mm, yeah, it seems to be a theme of the show. Um, all right, Tiffany, thank you for the question. I know we've done dedicated episodes on this, so I would say you could either go to our website, look at purchasing some specific episodes where we've done display builds and talk about optimizing and getting the best out of Google Ads, or you can go to our YouTube channel and find those as well. So there's definitely going to be tons of times we've talked about the display network.
Yeah.
Um,
Google paid
but
search podcast display, YouTube paid search
yeah,
podcast display.
display. Yeah. So, short answer is this: there is a very distinct difference between search and display, and I don't. There are a lot of big differences, but the true distinct difference that makes a difference in everything you do is the amount of volume available. The amount of inventory available of the display network makes everything different. That's why the CPC is low. That's why you can get clicks on things that nobody's searching for, that nobody has any idea about, things that are not interesting at all, and otherwise would get no traffic on search. You can get tons of traffic on display, and that's because you can show interesting ads. You can show ads that are appealing, ads that drive some type of special call to action in the ad copy that would otherwise not be enticing for search. So now that we have that established, the point is, well, how do I optimize? Now that I know I have tons of inventory, how do I improve the campaign beyond just, just getting a lot of traffic? Because traffic is not quality. So in order to get better quality, what you're going to have to do is essentially segregate the campaigns into different ideas and topics and tests. And I mean, there's a lot I could talk about on this because my brain's just overflowing with how to explain this quickly. But essentially, the idea is this: try the different ways of targeting. There's in market, there's remarketing, there's uh, um, people who are
Placements,
interested. Yeah, there's specific targeted placements. There are
topics.
people that are interested in if they're looking at a certain page that's about a certain topic, and then it gets even more specific: time of day, device, location, whether they are on a certain mobile phone, because you can actually target different networks.
Hmm.
Whether they're on a mobile phone and they're on the AT&T network or Verizon or something like
Oh,
that. I
really?
mean, who knows what you're advertising? Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to
Do
dissect it.
who? Why would someone do that?
Well, I assume it's because mobile, like mobile call plans and stuff. I mean, I don't see why you would do that unless you had an app that maybe only was available to
So you're
Apple,
telling me they took away average position, but we can still
but they
target
kept that.
different networks.
Hey,
All
you
right.
said
All right. As I'm going to follow my rules, you got to let that one go. So I'm not going to
it.
complain
Yep,
about it. You had to let it
yep,
go in the first hour. So it's not a complaint. It's just a question.
yep. Just yep. That's the way it is, Jason.
Chris,
So
can I butt in here?
no, I'm almost done. Almost done. I swear. 1 second. Okay. Last thing. So break it all up, and when you do it, I'm going to suggest putting it into different ad groups. Assuming you don't have like a ton, assuming you start with like 5, 6, 7, 8 different ideas of ways that you can reach people, I'm going to suggest ad group segregation and try some topic stuff, try some placement stuff, try some display stuff based on audiences, display based on maybe a set of keywords, custom in market, custom affinity. There's tons of options. So, all right, I'm done.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. So, Tiffany, Tiff, I'm going to lay
Tiff.
out the placement, or I'm going to lay out the display network for you and give you some overall thoughts on it. I think it's going to be very clear, very direct, and guide you. And if I'm ever over in the UK, I'd like you to take me to a pub, buy me a pint,
Mm.
and tell me how this display advertising went. So the way I would kind of break it down, Chris, just as simple as you can get, is number one. There's three things I'm going to focus on. Number one, remarketing, because I do include that in the display network, despite this whole little elitist thing we do on the show where we act like remarketing is not part of display. I'm going to say it is part of display, and your first thought should be remarketing versus all the other forms of display. That's the first area I would go down. And we can't get into all the different thoughts, but this is just an overview of where to go. That's the first thing I would look at. Remarketing versus all the other forms. Definitely start with remarketing in most cases. Number two, there's a middle gray bar of sections in Google Ads. It used to be the tabs at the top. Now it's like this gray bar on the left side of the page. And on a display campaign, you'll see sections in there. In the middle, keywords, audiences, demographics, topics, placements. I would Google those terms with the word display, Google Ads after them. I'd look at the help articles, and I would thoroughly understand all my options there. And then the third section of understanding what to do with display is Google Analytics. Link Google Analytics to the Google Ads campaign. Look at your traffic. How many conversions are you getting if you have conversion tracking? That's Google Ads. But if you have goals set up in analytics, how many goals are you getting from your display, different types of display advertising? Time on site, bounce rate, pages per visit. I would look at all those things when it comes to the display traffic, because in general, I always get a lot less conversions most of the time on display, and I'm really judging that traffic quality and what kind of quality it's bringing in terms of bounce rate, time on site. And then sometimes with remarketing, you can get a lot of direct leads, and sometimes with placements, you can get a lot of direct leads. But those are the things you have to understand to know how to optimize it. Remarketing versus all the other forms, and then understand the forms, keywords, audiences, demographics, topics, placements, and then understand how Google Analytics can help you judge that traffic quality. Thank you, Tiffany.
Okay. Next, we have a question from Aaron from Virginia Beach, and Aaron left us a voicemail.
Hello, Chris and Jason. This is Aaron from Virginia Beach. Here's my question. I have a pretty successful roofing campaign going on. And my question for you is this. I have all of the keywords in place: roofing company near me, roofing contractors, roofing company, whatever, all of the good keywords. But I recently added broad match modified keyword roofer just by itself. Now, the quality score on roofer is like 2 points higher than all of the other words, the other key words with roofer in it, like roofer near me or good roofer or affordable roofer. So should I pause all of?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yep. My phone turned off and now the audio has stopped. Okay, that's embarrassing. Anyway, Aaron, thank you for the question that I cut off. Jason, you see the text that I have on the page.
Yep.
Please ignore
First of all, Aaron, don't you
mess up.
ever get near my girlfriend, Cynthia, ever. Because I was listening to this voicemail in the kitchen earlier, preparing for today's show. She doesn't care at all about this show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never get questions. And then all of a sudden, who was that? Who called in? I just love his voice. So where's he? And she specifically said, where's he from? So please, Aaron. And take that as a compliment to your voice, but stay away from Cynthia. So Aaron posed a very interesting question, Chris.
That's a good question.
You've got great keywords that we always promote, near me, geo keywords, all that kind of stuff, right? But then he throws on a broad match modified roofers, just the word I'm assuming with the plus sign on it. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to experiment. But then he looks at his quality score, and his quality score is 2 points higher on that broad match modified. And he's like, okay, that roofers one I could still show up for roofers near me, roofers, geo, whatever, with that one broad match modified keyword with the higher quality score. Should I just pause the other ones because that one has a better quality score? This is something we kind of brainstormed internally about, Chris, a few weeks ago, just talking between us. We were like, wait, if two keywords can technically show up on the same search, but one of them has a better quality score, are you hurting yourself by running the lower quality score keyword with a higher bid? When we were kind of brainstorming ad rank. So there's a lot of interesting things going on there. There's a few things to think about though. Number one, plus roofers, Chris, modified, broad match modified. Yeah, you could still show up on roofers, Virginia Beach, roofers near me, but you could also show up on a bunch of garbage searches potentially because it's a lot looser keyword. So how's that going to affect things? So that's one thing to look out for. My answer would be to Aaron is it's a very interesting idea you have here. It's a very interesting thought you have to pause the more better looking keywords and go with the higher quality score one, even though it looks a little bit looser. So what I would do in this situation, I would set up an experiment. In the experiment, pause the higher quality looking keywords and go with the broad match modified keyword that's getting a higher quality score and see what the difference is. But here's the kicker. You got to have conversion tracking. You have to know what these keywords are bringing in terms of leads, because the broad match modified roofers with a plus sign, it's got a better quality score. So your cost per click might go down, but you might be getting a bunch of garbage searches along with it, but it still could be better because the cost per click is so low compared to the other one because the quality score is lower. You don't know that though unless you're doing conversion tracking. So you got to have conversion tracking. Then I'd set up an experiment. In the experiment draft campaign, I would pause those near me and geo keywords, and I would let the broad match modified keyword dominate. But I would probably only run it 20 or 30% of the time in terms of how often the experiment runs, just because it is such a change. So that's what I would do to kind of gauge if this theory would be worth pursuing. But you know what else is not a bad idea, Chris? It's just throwing in that broad match modified keyword in there and getting conversion tracking in place and going with a lower bid on it, or a bid that gets you a good cost per conversion. So I'd say there's nothing wrong with running it alongside the other higher quality looking keywords. You don't have to do the experiment, but if you're really curious, you could. Do you think that's okay to do?
Jason, I think this is a perfect situation to explain why manual bidding is superior, because the max clicks and the automated system has two reasons to push the heck out of this one keyword high quality score modified broad match keyword. I mean, it has high quality score on it, and it's only one word.
And it
It
gets a
can
ton of
match to
volume.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and imagine if some of these synonyms, they started matching roofers to roof, right? Which is not a stretch. That could happen, especially with a really high quality score. You could start matching to things that didn't include roofers. It
Yeah.
could match to roof, especially if you put a high bid on this. Let's say you put a max clicks with a $10 cap on the on the max clicks. You start getting stuff based on roof. So I think manual bidding is a good choice for this, and I don't think there's anything wrong with testing it. I think it's an excellent question. It's a really good case study, which essentially means that you need to pull the bids down, just like Jason said,
But you
on
know
the
what, Chris?
modified broad, and see what you get with it.
Now that I think about it, his Aaron's question and focus on quality score, it's just so different than my approach. My approach is what's quality score? I don't know what that is
Yeah, that's
because
a good
as we
point.
talked about, I think we talked about it. All I know is I do everything I can do to get a good quality score. Do everything I can do. Good websites, good ad
Mhm.
copy, good keywords. And we talked about it before. There's stuff we don't know about, blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing everything I can do to get good quality scores. And they just are what they are. And sometimes they're just lower than I want them to be. Therefore, I don't even focus on them. So I focus on conversion tracking, Chris, and conversions and cost per lead. And so to me, it shouldn't be a question of should I target this or target that and turn stuff off and all that kind of stuff. It should be I had the thought to put a broad match modified one word keyword in the campaign to get more volume and see what happens. Okay, I did that. Is it getting me leads? What is the cost per lead? Is it too high because I'm showing up on too much stuff because it's such a loose keyword, but I'm still getting some leads because it's so high volume? Okay, lower the bid manually, control things, and lower the cost per conversion. That would be my mindset. And all this
Yep.
other stuff about quality score, experiments, it's just not the way I do things. The way I do things is focus on cost per lead, focus on individual keyword bids, and manage those bids to get your goal cost per conversion, whether it means it's a low volume, super high quality keyword with a high cost per click, and you have to bid a lot, but the conversion rate's higher, or it's a looser broad match modified keyword and you lower your bids because the conversion rate is lower, but it's still all about hitting that cost per lead goal. So that's how I approach the situation.
Well said. All right, Jason, say it with me. opteo.com/PSP. You knew that URL because you've been there. But those of you who haven't, we know a large percentage of our audience checks out the tool. They like it. They use it. Join the crowd. Check out opteo.com/PSP. Get a 6-week extended trial. Enjoy the tool. Try it out, and you'll find that it's nice to have a safety net. It's nice to have a system that alerts you about changes to your campaign that you may not otherwise see. It's nice to have a graphical interface to be able to see things that you would have not seen otherwise. And who knows, maybe even a quick screenshot, and you send it to your boss, you send it to your client, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's a really great report. Thanks for sending that." It's all because of opteo.com/PSP.
Thanks, Chris. And I want to thank Kyle Solarud and Kyle Solarud's AdLeg software suite. It's a group of tools for Google Ads, advertisers, and managers. There's some great tools in there. A couple that I want to talk about today, the Negative Keyword Pro tool. You type in your keywords and it'll give you a list of relevant negative keywords that are relevant to that keyword that you could possibly show up on that you wouldn't want to show up on, and you can block them ahead of time before you even start your campaign and be able to start a campaign off with hundreds of negative keywords before you even get your first click. And then also one of the tools is the vid hoarder. You punch in a keyword, a topic, and then it will give you a list of relevant videos. It also shows you how many views they have, and you can get links to those individual videos and then target them as individual placement videos where your YouTube ads show up. To me, placements is the most effective, most relevant form of YouTube advertising. The problem is how do you find what videos to show up on, what placements? VidHoarder helps you do that. Go to software.adleg.com/PSP, get a free 7-day trial, get instant access, and you can also see videos of the tools being used and how they work. Software.adleg.com/PSP, free 7-day trial, instant access. Kyle Solorod's AdLeg software suite. So, Chris, we're going into the next episode because we are taking off as people are listening to this Thanksgiving week, and we're not doing a recording, but we're going to double up this episode, do another set of questions, and have that second episode coming out next week. But we're also going to do Patreon episodes, paidsearchpodcast.com. Check out the link to Patreon, $2 a month. We do an after show every single week. And I believe we're going to answer some business questions in there. So next week you got another Q&A coming out on the Paid Search Podcast, and both weeks you'll have companion Patreon episodes where we answer questions about pay-per-click. And with that, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Chris for being my co-host and partner on the show. I want to thank Chris for being such a great guy. I want to thank Chris for keeping me interested and entertained with his fashion selection every single week.
Oh, no.
I want to thank Chris for being an older guy than me and guiding me in all parts of life, Google Ads, business, family, everything, spirituality, knowing my body, knowing me inside of me, politics. The guy guides me on everything. He shows me how to live. I'm so glad I called him 4 years ago and said, "Hey, man, want to be my friend?" And he said, "Oh, I've been waiting for your call." As he said before, I've been in my silo. "Hey, Jimmy, get off the show now." Okay, so with that, we're going to close the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Chris, don't you dare hit that stop recording button because we're going to keep going. I know you're about to hit it. We're going to chop it up in post-production. So thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time.